My name is Nancy Klaus. I'm 28 years old. And if you asked anyone around me a year ago, they'd probably say I had my life all figured out. Solid career, a loving partner, an apartment in the city. From the outside, it looked like stability. But stability can sometimes be a trap you don't notice until it's too late. Looking back, the signs were always there. I just refused to read them. I met Kevin in college. I was majoring in engineering, the type of girl who color-coded her notes and had every semester mapped out. Kevin, on the other hand, was chaos in human form, studying marketing, dreaming big, talking fast, always brimming with ideas that sounded impossible but exciting. We clicked in a way that felt effortless. He brought out a playful side of me, and I grounded him when his head floated too far into the clouds. Our friends used to joke we were the perfect equation logic plus creativity. I believed them. After graduation, while most couples were trying to figure out long distance or separate leases, we made the leap and moved in together. A small 2-bedroom in the city. Old pipes, creaky floors, and a view of the brick wall next door, but to me it was ours. At the time, I was offered a job in another state, better salary, more growth. But Kevin had just landed a spot at a marketing agency. He told me he couldn't imagine starting his career without me there to celebrate the wins and help him through the inevitable rough patches. I didn't hesitate. I turned the offer down, took a local position instead. Stability. For us. That word again. Stability. The first couple of years felt like building a home brick by brick. I was loyal to a fault, really. When Kevin got passed over for a promotion and spiraled into self-doubt, I was there. When anxiety crept in late at night, I'd hold him while he whispered fears into the dark. I researched coping strategies, cooked him comfort meals, dipped into my savings to cover therapy sessions when his insurance didn't. "You're my safe place," he would murmur, curling against me after a long day. Those words melted me. I thought they meant we were unshakable. But here's the thing about being someone's safe place. Sometimes it turns into being someone's doormat, and you don't realize the difference until you're already flat on the floor. Kevin had always been drawn to social media, partly for work, partly for validation. At first it was harmless. Posting campaign ideas, following trends, experimenting with content. But soon he was scrolling for hours, lost in feeds of influencers skydiving in Bali or sipping cocktails on private beaches. One night as he scrolled, he sighed, "God, look at his adventures. Why don't we do stuff like that?" I laughed it off. We could take a weekend trip, maybe the coast. He waved it away. Too busy. Too expensive. Besides, it wouldn't be the same. That moment stuck with me longer than I admitted. It wasn't about the trips. It was about comparison, the invisible measuring stick he had begun to hold against our life. And then came the nights he didn't come straight home. Networking events, he said. Important mixers. Always late. Sometimes tipsy. Always full of stories about a guy named Alex. Alex says the market's shifting. Alex has these wild Europe backpacking stories. Alex just gets it, Nancy. I told myself it was admiration. Professional talk. Nothing more. Because why wouldn't I trust him? But something in me, the part that used to map out every step of my life, kept whispering that the equation wasn't balanced anymore. I buried the whisper under loyalty. I told myself every couple hits rough patches. Every partner has moments of doubt. I doubled down, supporting him, listening to his rants, celebrating his small wins, even suggesting he collaborate with Alex if it helped his career. That's how blind I was. I was volunteering to sharpen the knife that would eventually cut me open. When I look back now, I realize that every sacrifice I made, turning down that job, covering his therapy, sitting through family dramas as the peacekeeper wasn't just an act of love. They were bricks. Bricks in a cage I built with my own hands. At the time, though, I thought I was building a future that would collapse with one sentence I'll never forget. But that is a story for the next chapter. It was a Friday night, and for once I came home early. The city air was cool, and I remember thinking it was the perfect night to reset things between us. I'd stopped at the market, bought fresh basil and tomatoes, even splurged on a bottle of wine we used to love. The apartment smelled like garlic and roasted vegetables by the time Kevin walked in. But instead of his usual grin or exhausted sigh, he looked distracted. His eyes darted around like he was searching for the right script. I tried to ignore it. I poured him a glass, served the pasta, lit a candle. Normalcy, as if I could cook my way back into his heart. We sat at the table. He pushed food around his plate, barely ate 2 bites. Then softly, almost rehearsed, he said, "We need to talk." The 4 words everyone dreads. My chest tightened, but I forced a calm smile. About what? He fiddled with his napkin, twisting it between his fingers. I've been thinking a lot about us, about where I'm at in life. I nodded steady on the outside while my pulse raced. Was this about moving a new job or? It's about Alex, he blurted as if ripping off a bandage. The fork slipped from my hand. Alex, he couldn't meet my eyes. We've been spending time together. And I feel something. He's exciting, driven. I connect with him in a way that's different. Different. The word rang in my ears like a bell tolling the end of something. I swallowed hard. So what are you saying? You want to break up? Kevin shook his head quickly as though that would soften the blow. No, not exactly. I don't want to lose you, Nancy. You're my best friend, my safe place. The physical stuff between us, it's good, comfortable. Why throw that away? I stared, not understanding. Then what do you want? He took a breath, finally lifting his gaze. There was no shame in his eyes, only calculation. What if we adjusted things, stayed friends with benefits while I figure out if what I have with Alex is real? The silence that followed was deafening. The candle flickered between us, casting shadows across his face. You want me as your backup plan? I asked, voice, even though my insides were collapsing. He leaned forward, almost pleading. Not a backup. It's practical, Nancy. Mature. We keep the good parts, no labels, no pressure, while I explore. If it doesn't work with him, we still have us. It's win-win. I couldn't help the bitter laugh that escaped me. Win-win for who, Kevin? His tone shifted defensive now. Come on, don't make it sound ugly. Lots of people do this. It's evolved. If you care about me, you'll want me to be happy, and I want you in my life. This way, we don't have to lose each other. I sat back, studying the man I had built my life around. The man I had sacrificed for held through every storm. And now he was offering me scraps dressed up as generosity. Inside, betrayal burned like acid. But outside, I was calm, detached. I spoke slowly, each word deliberate. If you're not all in, then I'm not in at all. No friends, no benefits, nothing. For the first time, his composure cracked. His eyes widened. Wait, you're serious? Just like that, you'd throw it all away. I stood gathering our untouched plates. I'm not throwing anything away, Kevin. You already did. He scoffed, his voice rising. You're being dramatic. Think about it. You'll regret this when you're alone. Maybe he believed that. Maybe he wanted me to. But as I packed a small overnight bag, ignoring his sputtered arguments, I realized something chilling. I felt lighter. The door clicked shut behind me, and for the first time in years, I wasn't Kevin's safe place. I was my own. The first night after I left, I crashed on my friend Marissa's couch. I lay there staring at her ceiling fan, its slow rotation sinking with the storm inside my head. No tears came, not yet. Just a hollow disbelief. It wasn't until 3 days later when I returned to the apartment while Kevin was at work to pack my things that the tears finally broke free. Each sweater, folded into the box, felt like closing a chapter I hadn't realized was already over. I left the key on the counter. No note, nothing left to say. I went no contact, blocked his number, muted his socials, even rerouted our shared subscriptions into my name and removed his. It wasn't revenge, it was survival. But silence is heavier than shouting. It pressed down on me in the quiet moments when my phone stayed dark, when I rolled over in bed and found only the imprint of my own body. Nights were the worst. I'd lie awake staring at the ceiling, replaying the years I had given him, the job I didn't take, the vacations I canceled, the countless family dramas where I played mediator for him and his relatives, smiling through gritted teeth. And still he had the audacity to call me his safe place, then treat me like a placeholder. The grief morphed into self-doubt. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was boring, predictable, safe. Maybe Alex really was more exciting, more alive. The thoughts gnawed at me until I found myself Googling therapy clinics at 2 a.m. By the following week, I had my first session. The therapist's words hit like truth I had always known but never dared to say. He didn't just betray you, Nancy. He devalued you. He believed your loyalty meant you'd accept crumbs. That's not love. That's entitlement. Entitlement. The word cracked something open inside me. So I started the slow, painful work of reclaiming my life. Mornings, I forced myself to the gym. The first few runs were fueled only by anger, but eventually they became something else, proof I was moving forward one step at a time. Afternoons, I poured myself into projects I had sidelined for years, tinkering with design software, reading journals I once loved. Evenings, I reconnected with friends I'd drifted from. They welcomed me back without judgment, and laughter, real unforced laughter, crept into my life again. Meanwhile, the grapevine whispered about Kevin. I didn't ask, but mutual friends slipped details into conversations anyway. He's been missing work a lot. He's always out drinking. He keeps talking about Alex like it's more than business. I nodded politely, never asking for more. I was done chasing his story. But in the quiet of my own mind, I couldn't help wondering, would Kevin ever realize what he'd thrown away? One evening, as I journaled by lamplight, I wrote a single line that would become my anchor. I would rather be alone than be someone's second choice. The sentence looked fragile on the page at first, but the more I read it, the stronger it felt. Kevin's voice had always been the loudest in our relationship, but in the silence I had chosen, my own voice finally began to rise. And in that silence, a new version of me was being born. Karma has a way of moving quietly at first, then striking all at once. It was about a month after I cut ties that the whispers turned into full stories. Through mutual friends, I learned that Kevin's grand new beginning with Alex had fizzled almost as quickly as it started. They'd hooked up a few times, gone on a weekend trip together, and when Kevin confessed he wanted something serious, Alex vanished. Blocked his number, no explanations, just gone. Kevin had gambled stability for excitement, and excitement cashed out the moment it got boring. The fallout was ugly. Kevin started showing up late to work. Then, not at all. He missed a major client presentation and, according to one friend, was seen stumbling out of a bar the night before drunk and belligerent. His social media, once curated and full of bravado, turned cryptic. Posts about lessons learned and realizing what matters filled his feed. To anyone else, they probably looked philosophical. To me, they looked desperate. Then the attempts to reach me began. First, it was an email. The subject line, "Can we talk?" I opened it once against my better judgment. "Hey, I miss our chats. Things with Alex weren't what I thought. He was just a phase. Remember how good we were as friends? Let's grab coffee. No pressure. I could use your advice." I deleted it. No reply. A week later, I was stepping out of my apartment when the buzzer rang. "It's me," his voice crackled through the intercom. "I know you're up there, please. Just 5 minutes?" I froze. His voice used to feel like home. Now it felt like a warning siren. I didn't answer. Instead, I texted the doorman. "If he comes back, tell him I'm not available." Kevin stood outside for nearly an hour before leaving. But he didn't stop there. His friends, even his cousin, began reaching out. One message read, "She's hurting Nancy. Alex used her and left. Be the bigger person. She needs you right now." Another, "Everyone makes mistakes. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Just meet him halfway." It was surreal being painted as the villain for refusing to be his emotional crutch again. The same people who once told me I was too good for him were now urging me to step back into the role of savior. But I wasn't his safe place anymore. I wasn't anyone's bandage. And when guilt didn't work, Kevin turned to anger. Voicemails piled up from unfamiliar numbers. "How can you ignore me like this?" "I was honest with you, Nancy. Most people would have lied. You're punishing me for exploring. That's controlling." Another fine. "Be alone forever. You'll regret ghosting me when you realize no one else will care like I do." His hypocrisy was almost laughable. He had tried to demote me to a side option, and now he was furious I wouldn't let him back in at all. But by then, I had grown stronger. I had a new apartment, small, but mine. A promotion at work I once turned down was finally mine, complete with travel perks and recognition. I was reconnecting with friends, trying new hobbies, even saying yes to casual dates. My life wasn't perfect. There were nights loneliness whispered in my ear and days when memories stung unexpectedly. But it was mine, entirely mine. And with every step forward, Kevin's voice faded into nothing more than background noise. Yet life has a way of circling back. And soon enough, we would find ourselves face to face again, only this time, I wouldn't be the one begging. 6 months had passed. By then, my life was unrecognizable compared to the night I walked out of our apartment. I had just returned from a work trip, my first conference out of state. The flight had been exhausting, but I was buzzing with energy. New contacts, new opportunities, and the subtle thrill of proving to myself that I could thrive without him. When my friend Jake invited me to his rooftop birthday party, I almost skipped it, but something inside nudged me to go. A year ago, I would have declined, afraid Kevin might not approve of me being out late. Now the choice was mine, and mine alone. The rooftop was strung with lights, laughter spilling into the night air. I wore a black dress I hadn't touched in years, one I used to save for special occasions that never came. That night it wasn't for anyone else, it was for me. I was mid-conversation with a coworker when I felt that sharp, unmistakable tug of eyes on me. I turned, and there he was, Kevin. Only he wasn't the man I remembered. His suit looked rumpled, His smile strained his eyes, tired and hollow. He hovered at the edge of the crowd, clutching a beer like it was the only thing tethering him to the world. Our eyes locked. His widened with recognition, desperation flickering in the corners. Then he crossed the rooftop with a determination that made the air around me shift. "Nancy," he said, his voice low, urgent, as if afraid someone else might overhear. "Kevin." My tone was calm, detached. Just a name, no warmth attached to it. "I need to say this, please." I raised a brow. "You've had plenty of chances to say things." He flinched but pressed on. "Alex was a mistake. He never wanted more. He just used me, and I see that now. I see what I had with you. Stable. Real. I was an idiot proposing that friends with benefits crap. I was scared of committing fully." I tilted my head, studying him as if he were a Slousker pitching me a bad idea. "You weren't scared, Kevin. You were greedy." His jaw tightened. "I wasn't greedy. I was confused. I thought I needed excitement, but what I really needed was you. I miss you. Us. Can we start over? Even just as friends at first." He reached for my arm. Reflexively, I stepped back. His hand lingered in the air for a beat before falling. "Do you remember," I said slowly, "the night you told me you wanted to keep me as your safety net while you chased someone else that night you ended us? Not me, you." His eyes grew glassy, desperate. "I didn't mean it like that. I was wrong. I'm saying I know better now. Don't punish me forever for one mistake." I let out a breath, steady, final. "This isn't punishment. This is consequence. You wanted benefits without love. I chose myself. That's the difference between us." For a moment, silence stretched between us. The music and laughter from the party carried on around us, but in our little bubble, it was just the two of us, past and present, colliding one last time. "Please," he whispered, his voice cracking. "Don't do this." I gave him a faint smile, not cruel, just resolute. "Kevin, I already did. Months ago." Then I turned, walking back to my circle of friends. Their laughter welcomed me in bright and effortless, while behind me, Kevin stood alone, swallowed by a life he no longer had access to. For the first time, I realized the power shift was complete. He had once believed I couldn't live without him. Now it was clear he was the one who couldn't live without me. And I no longer cared. After that night on the rooftop, I never saw Kevin again. He lingered for a while through mutual acquaintances, through the occasional rumor. Someone mentioned he was still single, bouncing from fling to fling, chasing sparks that burned out as quickly as they began. Others said he'd lost weight, looked tired, avoided eye contact when my name came up. But none of it mattered anymore. His life was no longer my business. Mine, however, had become something worth living. I moved into a sunlit apartment overlooking the park, filled it with books and plants, and the kind of silence that felt like peace, not punishment. I started traveling for work, meeting new people, discovering cities on my own terms. And slowly I opened myself to dating again. Not rushing, not clinging, just letting connections form where they may. There's someone now. It's new, unhurried, respectful. Whether it grows or fades, I know I'll be fine, because I'm no longer afraid of being alone. Love used to mean sacrificing myself for someone else's comfort. Now it means protecting my boundaries and honoring my worth. Kevin once told me I was his safe place. I used to treasure those words, but I see them differently now. I wasn't his safe place. I was his safety net, the thing he believed would always catch him when he fell. When I finally stepped aside, he hit the ground, and I kept walking forward. People always expect a story like mine to end with revenge or reconciliation, a grand scene, a dramatic twist, but mine ended with something quieter. Silence. And in that silence, I found my voice again. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Never let someone convince you that being their second choice is better than being alone. Alone is not empty. Alone is freedom. So, no, I don't hate Kevin. I don't wish him harm. I don't even think of him often. He was a chapter 1. I closed the moment he asked me to settle for less than I deserved. And the rest of my story, that's mine to write.